They say Lady Justice is blind, but after watching the Young Thug trial, I'm pretty sure she's blind, deaf, dumb, and has a crystal meth addiction.
Detective Thorpe, his brain was the size of a squirrel brain. So you can just tell him anything, he gonna go for it.
I don't care. I don't care. I give over everything. I've done this for 33 years. Never in my life have I seen a trial. I've done 300 appeals in the state of Georgia alone. I've never read a case like this.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I know it has been a minute, year-end stuff and all. You know how that goes. Anyway, let's get to the video. I have a pretty varied demographic that watches this channel, so I'm not gonna assume everybody knows what's going on. But today we're gonna be talking about the RICO trial for YSL, or Young Slime Life Records, or Young Street Life Records, which is a rap label, and specifically the trial of Young Thug, who is a rapper. He's not actually that young, he's 33, and not a thug, well, I don't know. Anyway, the state is alleging that YSL is more than a record label. They say it's a branch of the Bloods street gang. And I'm not gonna speak on that part because I have no idea. But what I do wanna talk about is the ridiculousness that has been this trial and the clown show known as the US justice system. And I am not exaggerating when I tell you this makes our justice system look like one big joke. We are talking about the longest running criminal trial in Georgia's history. They've had several different judges, jailed attorneys, stabbed defendants, witnesses intimidated by judges, witnesses thrown in jail, homework given, witnesses high on the stand, goat sacrifices, and much, much more. With a Grammy award-winning star as the backdrop, being accused of being the leader of a murderous street gang based on song lyrics. And this has all been live streamed on no other place but YouTube. Where shall we even begin? This whole thing started back in May of 2022 when 28 YSL members or associates were indicted under Georgia's RICO Act. RICO stands for Racketeer-Influenced Corrupt Organizations, and it's an act that was originally created to help law enforcement go after mafia-type organizations and other organized crime. You see, because of their disconnected structure, it made it hard for law enforcement to tie them to any actual crimes because it functioned like an organization. So through the RICO Act, they tie things together like fraud, money laundering, drug trafficking, and they show how the leaders profit from these illegal activities carried out by the enterprise. The financial aspect is very important for that connection. Remember that for later. Now, prosecutors at the time were claiming that YSL wasn't just a hip hop label, but a criminal street gang led by none other than Young Thug himself. The actual trial began in November 2023, and what ensued was one of the craziest series of events that I have ever seen. Young Thug, who is the most notable of individuals involved in this case, was arrested, like I said, back in May of 2022 during the initial indictment. And the state did everything they could to keep this guy in jail. He was in jail for so long, in fact, that he released an entire album. And when he finally did get released, he had spent more than 900 days in jail, most of those awaiting trial. The prosecutor for the case is none other than Fani Willis. Now you'll remember that name because she is also the prosecutor on the other high-profile racketeering case against the former president and incoming President Trump. And I don't care what you think about Trump, but it is the same lady prosecuting him that brought this case to trial, a RICO case in which they never even looked at the financial records of their main suspect. And after the disaster that this trial has been, I'd go ahead and declare Trump is probably innocent as well. It took more than a year to even get a jury for this trial. Hundreds of potential jurors were requesting exemptions for a whole host of reasons, but really because no one wanted to commit a year or more of their life to hearing Fani Willis tell them how she'd uncovered this massive organized crime syndicate, all predicated on the lyrics from a rap song. There was a juror arrested because she decided to live stream the selection process, but what do you expect when defendants are handing out Percocets during trial? This juror got 3 days in jail and a lecture on punishment in society, retribution, and general deterrent. Another juror went on vacation to the Dominican Republic during the trial. Her punishment? To write a 30-page essay on the importance of civic responsibility. That's right, this judge was handing out homework. Another juror was held in contempt for talking with the news about the trial. Then then, as the trial finally got underway, one of Young Thug's co-defendants walked up during the trial and handed Young Thug a Percocet, as if it was the most normal thing to do in the world. Then that same co-defendant had to be rushed to the hospital after he swallowed all the remaining drugs he had. Another of Young Thug's co-defendants, a rapper named Lil Rod, was apparently high and had marijuana on him and was escorted out by officers, resulting in some kind of courtroom ruckus. The next day, a defense attorney was arrested for battery on a law enforcement officer and possession. There was also some type of goat sacrificing ritual that took place that the defense was arguing to keep out of the trial. A Zoom call was hacked and a porno video was played instead during the middle of court. I mean, this case has just been nothing but non-stop drama. Now, the initial judge presiding over the trial was a man named Euro Glanville, but after multiple complaints from several attorneys, he was recused. You see, it seems he had a private meeting in his chambers with a sworn-in witness and the prosecution, without the defense present or even them knowing that it was going on. The worst part is when the defense attorney confronted him about it, he didn't even deny it. He was pissed that somebody had snitched on him.
You don't tell me who if you don't tell me who it is, I'm gonna put you in, I'm gonna put you in contempt, because that is not attorney-client privilege.
Attorney work product privilege. I am not.
How did you get that information supposedly from my chambers? Did somebody tell you?
I'm not. You should have told me.
You got 5 minutes.
Well, you know, I don't need it. I want to continue.
You got 5 minutes?
This is what I was told. Mr. Copeland made statements.
He then charged Young Thug's attorney with contempt of court for not ratting out who told him. Young Thug's attorney said, fine, just put me in the same cell as my client so I can continue to work on the case. But before Glanville was recused, however, he'd already managed to taint the trial so badly that it should have been just thrown out altogether. In addition to the secret meeting, he decided to allow rap lyrics to be used as evidence. He continually refused bail for Young Thug, reiterating what the state told him, that Young Thug was basically a threat to society, and if allowed to be free, he would endanger the public. But the state also said that they'd let Young Thug out immediately if he would become a witness for them. The entire trial, it seemed like Glanville and the prosecution were working together, and none of that became more evident than during the testimony of the state's key witness, YSL or Lil Woody. The state's entire case rested on YSL Woody, and he was anything but helpful.
I know I ain't complete school, but I think I'm speaking proper English. I told you, I don't recall nothing I said to no polices. You keep sitting right here asking me the same question over and over and over and over and over. I'm tired of it. I'm drained.
Okay. Well, if you would just answer the questions properly.
I answered the question. You asked me, I said yes, yes. When I say yes, you ask me the same question over and over and over and over and over.
But did you just tell the court and this jury that you're saying yes just to move the process along?
I think I said it loud and clear.
Now, he'd been given this weird type of immunity, which was like anything he said on the stand couldn't be held against him. Yet, he still refused to answer almost any questions.
How old are you?
Grown.
Okay, what does grown mean?
I'm an adult.
Woody is either one of the world's greatest evil geniuses or is missing a few screws. But either way, his testimony basically illuminated all of the corruption and negligence of the DA. He was initially thrown in jail for not testifying. And this is when Glanville had the secret meeting with him that resulted in him the next day getting on the stand and singing like a canary. And that's when Young Thug's defense was like,
wait a minute, who are you?
So then Glanville gets recused and they assign Judge Rachel Cross, and she's set to review the recusal. But the defense finds out that Cross and Glanville are actually kind of friends, and Glanville actually donated money to Cross's campaign. So then they assign Shakura Ingram, but the very next day she recuses herself because one of her former deputies was arrested for being romantically involved with a YSL defendant. Yes, YSL, the same supposed organized crime syndicate, had a member romantically involved with the judge's deputy. I don't know, maybe they are more than a record label. Then came Judge Paige Reese Whitaker, who was the final judge in this case. And she could not believe the trash trial that she'd just been thrown into. So with the new judge, YSL Woody was no longer being coerced into testifying. And Judge Whitaker also stated that anything that he'd said previously would be stricken from the record. So when they brought Woody back to testify, he couldn't remember anything. And instead of helping out the prosecution, Woody goes on to tell the court that everything he said was a lie, and he would say anything not to go to jail.
So let me, Young, I'm telling you to your face. You just said that something about it, they can lock me up for lying. I'm telling you to your face, this is all I do. I know 100% facts, and I'm telling you now, I was not truthful. I was saying whatever they wanted me to say. I was saying whatever I could come up with. I was trying my best to convince them that I didn't do nothing, that I'm an innocent person, and that people put their hands on me.
So without Woody, the prosecution had nothing. Their entire premise didn't even make sense. They stated that YSL was this ruthless gang and the rap label was just a front to cover it up. Then they used rap lyrics and social media posts from the label as evidence of the crime. Like, how does that even make sense? You cover up your illegal gang with a rap label that raps about your illegal gang. Not to mention, the prosecution was never able to connect the music with any actual crimes. They just continually tried to make the connection that the music rapped about violent things, so obviously Young Thug did violent things. How is this what our tax dollars are paying for? Judge Whitaker was pissed.
But it is baffling to me that somebody with the number of years of experience that you have, time after time after time, continues to seemingly purposefully hide the ball to the extent you possibly can for as long as you possibly can. And I really don't want to believe that it is purposeful. But honestly, after a certain number of times, you start to wonder how it could be anything but that, unless it is just that you are so unorganized that you are throwing this case together as you try it.
Other notable incidents that occurred during the trial include one of the co-defendants getting stabbed multiple times while in jail. He survived. Various rap lyrics being played in the courtroom as evidence. That was weird. There was a witness high on the stand.
I'm so high right now, y'all. I'm about to go to sleep on y'all now.
Another defense attorney was arrested, this time on gang charges relating to a 2022 Atlanta shooting. And if you're keeping count, that is the third attorney arrested so far. And yes, I said attorneys, the people that are supposed to keep you out of jail. So at some point, the prosecution inadvertently shared classified information with the jury. This was likely going to result in a mistrial, so the judge encouraged both sides to reach some type of plea deal. Now, Young Thug had been in jail for 900 days. This is almost 3 years without actually being found guilty of anything. And then he's given the opportunity to just go home. And while the plea deal, which is 15 years of probation with some pretty tough stipulations, seems bad, I don't know what I would have done if I'd been stuck in jail for that long. Like, I'm sure he'd lost all faith in the justice system, and maybe he could have stuck it out a few more months and gone home a completely free man. Or maybe in a few months, they would have come up with some more nonsense and he'd be in jail for another 3 years. He just wasn't willing to take that chance, and I understand that. In the end, our justice system sucks, and Fulton County is the last place I ever want to visit. And you can be charged with anything without any real evidence. My takeaway from this: make lots of money, pay off officials, and collect as much information on people as you can, because you never know when you're gonna need it. Although I think that was Diddy's plan to help him keep the freak offs going, and we see how that's working out.